Welcome back to Stuff About Money. I'm Xavier Angel, certified financial planner, and joined by my co-host,
Erik Garcia, also certified financial planner.
Ooh, did you say awesome or also?
Also as well.
All right. Well, I'll give you the
I am
awesome.
one too.
I'll give you the awesome certified financial planner.
I am an awesome certified. Is that an additional designation?
That is. Now it is. We just made it up.
Got to pay extra for that?
Yeah, but you got to pay me. So cut me a check.
All these designations, they get expensive, man.
I was going through doing taxes and pulling receipts and stuff for designations and licensing and
take deductions on that.
Yeah, it is. It definitely adds up. So let's.
So next episode, if we introduce ourselves without the certified financial planner, y'all, we're just trying to save money. It's expensive out there, guys. We're just trying to cut back a little bit.
Behaviors, right?
Behave well, right? Yeah. Last episode, what did we talk about?
We talked about how wealth gets derailed. Wealth building gets derailed and destroyed because of
derailed.
That's
a good word.
Yeah. So, because bad behaviors, and we talked about those 3 bad behaviors, and they tend to throw us off track.
I said destroy. I think I was a little bit more dramatic.
You were. I like derailed.
Okay.
Because we can always come back. We could get derailed, but we can get back on track.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go record that other episode. Oh, jeez.
So the three.
Sorry,
habits.
y'all. Sorry, y'all, for being dramatic. Okay. All right.
So the Xavier's 3 bad habits that we talked about.
Xavier's the voice of reason.
But Erik is a philosophical one.
This should have been. You should have done a solo episode, man. You should. That's what we talked about. You should have just cut me out of this.
I told you I was going to do it. You love taking control, right?
Why didn't you do it? I didn't have control.
What's the word we use for you around the office now?
I'm not bossy. I'm just aggressively helpful.
Yeah, bossy, not aggressively, or bossy, not bossy, just aggressively helpful.
Right. I'm holding up our notebooks here, right here. This is Stephanie gave us these for Christmas. What's yours, Xavier? You're going to call me out. What's your notebook say?
My notebook is hot mess.
Hot mess.
It's only because I enjoy having fun. But let's move on. So
let's move on. We digress.
In talking about last episode, we talked about the obstacles that derail wealth building.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And those are the emotional decisions that we make, lifestyle creep, overconfidence.
Yeah.
And so today we're going to talk about the opposite of those. What actually protects the wealth that we're building today?
Yeah.
How can we build guardrails around it so that we don't get derailed?
We don't get derailed. That's good.
I know you like it. So Erik, let's jump into those 3 good behaviors that help us to protect wealth and keep us on track. And so I'm going to start off with that first one.
Before you get there, can I repeat one thing that we talked about in the past episode about the 3 bad behaviors? A lot of that episode was based on the research from Richard Thaler, who wrote the book Misbehaving, and the big one of the big groundbreaking observations. And I'm gonna say it again here, repeat it, and it might not sound that groundbreaking, but it's that humans act. We don't always act rationally. We don't always act in our best interest when it comes to making financial decisions, right? The decisions that we often make short term hurt us in the long term. We are irrational actors in the decision-making process. And that is the foundation of his book, Misbehaving, right? We derail ourselves with our bad behavior.
And I think because of that, and this could be a whole nother episode, because of that theory there, that is one of the reasons why you want to have an accountability partner. Work with a certified financial planner. Work with someone in a financial service profession, because that individual is going to help to keep you in track, right?
Yeah, 100%. And then to harken. Well, that's an old school word. I was listening to someone and they used the word harangue. They were haranguing someone. Now I'm saying hearken. To harken back, to call back our previous episode, one of the greatest assets that a financial planner, financial advisor can add to the retail investor, everyone who's listening to the show, including us, is someone who can check our behaviors, who can help us make better financial decisions. In fact, most people come to us to hire us to invest money for them, or they have a financial question. The real value that they get from hiring us tends to be this right here, this idea of helping them make better, not informed decisions, because a lot of people we work with, they kind of already know what's good for them to help them combat their strong emotions to make bad financial decisions. It's one of the values that we have. So, all right, let's get into these 3 good behaviors that help us build and protect our wealth.
So the first one of those behaviors is going to be living below your means.
Yeah.
All right. Spending less than you earn, which is one of our core values, right? One of the 7 pillars. Spend less than you make.
It's technically not one of the pillars. However, that's one of our 3 simple things. If someone says distill building wealth in 3 lessons, it's make spend less than you make, save as much as you can, and don't do anything foolish. But I would say our 7 pillars do incorporate conceptually this idea: spend less than you earn.
And we had talked about earlier about not having margin, lifestyle creep. And so what falls under living below your means is going to be creating margin. And that margin allows you to begin saving, investing. It allows you to be able to do the things that's most important to you.
You know what I think about whenever we talk about this idea of creating margin? Remember back in school when you had to write a paper and you had to have so many pages and the font size had to be so big and your margin had to be so big? That's how I love to think about this idea of financial margin, is when you're writing on paper, on loose leaf, or on the computer in a word processor, margin is that white space between the words and the edge of the paper. And when you have more margin, there's more room for error, or there's more room for error, right? There's place to do other things, to write notes in the margins, right? If you have words that go all the way to the margin, there's no room to do anything else.
Right.
So I love to think about this idea of white space on a sheet of paper. Margin financially is there's more white space. There's more space around the edges in case something goes wrong, in case you want to do something different than what was planned. Anyway.
Right. So in a third piece under this is going to be avoiding those lifestyle inflations.
Yeah.
Right. And lifestyle inflation is going to be running out and purchasing the next big thing out there. Right. I'm in Walmart and I see that big screen TV, that 100-inch screen TV. I don't need to go out there and buy that. Do I really need it?
I like to think of this idea of lifestyle creep. I sit on a board. If you've ever sat on a board, or even if you have a business partner, you're making decisions for a board, for a organization. A question that you always have to ask is, hey, is this within our scope of work? All right, this is good. It would be nice to do this, but are we creeping outside of our original scope? Scope creep. Scope creep is what they call it. And I think about the same thing with lifestyle creep is, hey, look, this is cool. There's nothing wrong with doing this, but is it outside of our budget? Is it outside of what we can afford? Does it eat into our financial margin? Because if there's one common trait that you can say this is a thread across all people who have successfully built wealth, if we can simplify the heck out of it, the most consistent pattern is that they live below their means. They build margin.
Wow.
That's it. They're not smarter than you. They don't necessarily work harder than you. They didn't necessarily get luckier than you. They simply make decisions to spend less than they make.
And one of the things that I often find myself telling people is, when building wealth, the goal isn't to look wealthy. right? The goal is to be wealthy. I can be wealthy and not own the most expensive clothes or the biggest house or the most expensive car.
When we were at where were we, in Fort Lauderdale for that conference?
Mm-hmm.
We're at Margaritaville, and we're at a bar, and it kind of had sand, right? Where there's about maybe 10, 15 professionals. We're all hanging around, having drinks, and then the waiter comes up, and I think you might have told him. I don't know what happened, but he brings the bill to me, and I look at him, and I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt, right? One of those cool trendy t-shirts from like Flirty Girl or Dirty Coast. Not sure which one. And I said, "Why are you bringing me the bill, man? Do I look like I have money?" He said, "Well, there's two types of people with money." I'm like, "Oh yeah, tell me." I'm leaning in. I'm like, there's like a 20-something-year-old waiter. I'm like, "Yeah, tell me, what are the two types of people with wealth?" He goes, "There are those who look really wealthy, and then there are those who dress like you." And I'm like, okay, I appreciate it, but I'm not wealthy. But the idea is I wasn't dressed wealthy, right? I didn't have a Rolex. Nothing wrong against Rolexes. I wasn't looking fancy. I wasn't in fancy clothes, right? Most wealthy people don't look wealthy. That's what's crazy. Most people who look wealthy, they're probably not.
Right.
They're probably not.
You and I talk about we've got a client that loves to take trips on a regular basis, and he takes 3 trips a year, these 30 day to 45 day trips a year, and it's 3, and he's been doing this for the last 15-16 years. Most people would have looked at that individual and assumed that they weren't saving and they didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
But here this individual was able to, when they retired, just continue to take these 3 to 4 trips per year. And they're gone 4 months out of the year, 4 or 5 months out of the year traveling. They don't look wealthy, but yet they are wealthy because they're able to do things that they want to do.
They got there because they lived below their means.
Absolutely.
They saved. They
Absolutely.
had financial margin. And margin, I'm telling you, this is the common thread in financially successful people. It's what allows everything else to work. Without financial margin, there's nothing to invest, nothing to save, no money to compound. There's no buffer when things go wrong. Margin is the foundation.
And Eric,
building wealth.
This is going to bring us into number 2. You know what else they were doing? They were reinvesting instead of extracting. This was an individual that was putting money away into the retirement accounts and investment accounts.
That's right.
And as they were making money, they were reinvesting those monies.
They weren't taking it out.
Right.
I like to tell the story. I've told it a couple times. We raised chickens for a little while. I say raise. We had 6 chickens, and they gave us about, I would say we had on average 4 eggs a day. Okay, chicken every morning. As long as I fed them, they gave me an egg. Right. My daughter loves chicken wings more than she likes eggs.
Are you going to tell me she went out there and...
No. But if she told me one morning, she goes, "Dad, I'm tired of eggs. I want chicken wings." Right. So if I were to get her chicken wings for my chickens, I would have taken a chicken out of egg production, and my ability to generate eggs would have reduced because I extracted. I took a distribution of the capital that was generating these eggs. That's what tends to happen is people who are building wealth don't prematurely take money out of their accounts that are growing for them. They're reinvesting profits, right? They're letting income that's being generated, like dividends and interest payments, they're reinvesting those or partially reinvesting those back in to their accounts. Their capital stays in the system. I had a business professor at Tulane. He says there's 3 ways to make money. 1, work for it. That's what most people do. 2, you own a business. People work for you. They're earning money. You keep a percentage of what they do. And the third thing, and he goes, this is where wealth is built. Your money makes money for you. And if you're taking money out of your accounts, guess what's happening? Your money can't make money for you. Right?
So if I ask you, what is the biggest difference between people who build wealth and those who don't? Do you know what it is?
The biggest difference?
The biggest difference.
There's a lot of differences.
Well, I would say
people who build wealth, they maintain that margin, and oftentimes that margin increases in their life, right? Their spending doesn't increase proportionally with their income or their investments.
So it's what they do with their money once they earn it.
Well, that's not one thing. I can do 100 things with my money. That was a trick question.
Well, I got to throw it out to you every now and then. So, it's what people do with their money once it's earned. All right. Yeah. It's reinvesting, as you mentioned earlier, all the things that the dividends, the growth, reinvesting that, keeping that capital in the system. Those are things that are going to help them grow well.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. I answered right.
I know.
You're not increasing their lifestyle necessarily as they make more money. They're reinvesting it, and to contrast that against people who derail their wealth, they're making decisions on what they want to spend money on today, right? My investments did good, I'm going to go buy something expensive, as opposed to my investments did good, I'm going to maintain my lifestyle, and I'm going to reinvest those investments. I'm going to let them continue to grow. And I want to signpost this right here. I'm not advocating for not enjoying your money and living like a pauper lifestyle. We're advocates of enjoying your money. Use your money for what's important to you. But what we tend to see and what we've observed in working with people tend to make bad financial decisions. They are hurting their future selves because they're making decisions based off of emotions today, right? We don't have to go back into that. We talked about that last episode,
right?
But reinvesting, not spending your investments, involves a intentional, purposeful, conscious decision to choose the future over today. I'm saying no to myself today because I'm saying yes to something tomorrow. That is a natural human instinct to want to say yes today and not think about tomorrow. And it takes work to do the opposite.
Right. And that's where people struggle. People struggle because of the present biases that they have. Right. Yeah. I want to spend now because it makes me feel good.
Makes you feel good.
All right. Reinvesting.
You want to?
Well, it does. Spending now makes me feel good, right? If I go out, if I leave here today and I don't know, I go out and I buy another car, it's going to make me feel today. But tomorrow I might not feel as good because I have to come back and think about that purchase. So spending now feels great. Reinvesting delays that gratification that I would have today.
I like reinvesting.
So wealth grows money.
Yep.
Wealth grows when money is put back into the system to work for you.
That's right.
So our next one is Number three, avoiding catastrophic mistakes.
Don't do anything foolish with your money. Yeah, that's right.
And you love that saying. I hear you use that often. Go for it.
Yeah, that's one of the three things. So may have talked about this in previous episodes, but I took up golf pretty seriously last year. I quit doing CrossFit. I'm pretty competitive, and I needed something just to continue to engage in physically. And I know golf isn't a wildly physical sport. I get it, but it's a challenging sport. I was playing with a buddy of mine who's played all his life. And I'd walk up to the ball, and he was very instructive. Sometimes you play in these tournaments and everyone's trying to tell you what to do. I didn't mind him telling me what to do because he had a lot of really good insight. And he said, what club are you hitting? And I tell him what club I was hitting. He goes, why are you hitting that? I said, because I want to get to the green. He goes, where's the danger? Where's the danger around the green? I said, well, there's a sand trap in the front left. There's water in the back. He goes, what shot is going to minimize your danger? What's going to minimize the damage? And it made me change my shot. I got to minimize the damage. I got to stay out of the water in the back. I can't go long, and I can't go left. So I needed it. So the point is, what is going to minimize the damage? It doesn't have to be the perfect shot. It doesn't have to be the most impressive shot. It doesn't have to be the smartest shot. Or actually, the smartest shot is the one that minimizes the damage. And I think that is, when we think about money and growing money, we have to ask ourselves, What is going to minimize the damage within the context of my long-term wealth building goals, right? Minimize the damage. Well, I should just be in cash. Well, does that minimize the damage? We've been talking ad nauseum about how expensive things have gotten. So if you're sitting in cash, oh my God, your money just lost value, right? Because you're not keeping up with the cost of goods. So is that really the way to minimize damage? Is it? If you're a long-term investor, the biggest thing you can damage your wealth building prospects is not being in equities, not being in stocks, because we know historically that they're going to go up. We know long-term, if you sit in cash, you are negatively impacting, you are derailing your wealth building prospects. So what minimizes the damage in the context of, in my golf analogy, well, hitting a putter, 100 yards out would certainly minimize the damage, or would it? Probably increase my damage. It would take me forever to get there. So one of those good behaviors, and again, it's I think this is tied to multiple good behaviors. What do? We manage our risk appropriately. We maintain sufficient liquidity margin for those oh crap moments in life. We diversify our investments. We're not just going to go all in 100% in technology or 100% in, some speculative asset class. We're going to diversify. Okay. We're going to give up a little bit on the upside. That's okay. I don't have to outperform the NASDAQ every year to build wealth, right? I want to minimize the downside. I want to minimize the damage.
So I'm not always looking for that perfect move. Smaller moves that are good moves will eventually outweigh that one perfect move, because we can't always achieve that perfect move.
Yeah, no, that's 100% right. You don't need every shot in golf to be a great shot to score well. You just got to avoid the shots that are going to take you out. I don't need to get 20, 30% on every investment decision I make, because what comes along with a risky, aggressive shot or a risky, aggressive investment is, on the downside, it could hurt me potentially as well. And I want to minimize that. So what is the right amount of risk? This is risk management. What's the right amount of risk? How much risk? And we talk about this all the time. How much capacity for risk do I have? How much risk can I afford?
And that's something that I've heard you speak often about. It's risk capacity.
Yeah.
Right. And which I've started using it because I think it's powerful.
Yeah. We talk about risk tolerance. If you ever invested money, a financial advisor is going to ask you some questions to gauge your risk tolerance. How much risk can you tolerate? Here's the problem with that. Risk tolerance is too closely tied to our emotions. My riskiest clients, when markets are really bad, they tend to be less risky. My most conservative clients, when markets are really good, they wonder why they're not keeping up with the market. They want to be more risky, and that's their tolerance for risk. It's going to change. My tolerance for risk is going to go up and down based off of how I feel about what's going on in the economy, what's going on in the news, what's going on in the world. Capacity ignores how I feel. Okay? And I'm not ignoring when we make investment decisions. We don't ignore how you feel. We ask the question, well, how much can you afford to take? If your 401k lost 20% this year, does it knock you out? Does it change your lifestyle? No. It doesn't feel good. Great. I get it. It doesn't feel good, but it's not going to impact your lifestyle. So are you willing to feel uncomfortable? That's the cost of investing. It's the cost of long-term growth for the potential reward, right? That's risk management. That is a good behavior to exhibit, to get in the habit of.
Now, if you look at the people, who lost wealth, it's usually one decision, right? They're taking on a lot of risk. But if you look at people who are building their wealth, it's usually 1,000 small good decisions that they're making.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes it's one decisions that wipe you out,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it's that decision, that bad decision, or that habit, or that one thing that just compounds over time. And it might not wipe you out, it might not take out your wealth, but it's going to prevent
But
you
it
from
depletes
building
it.
wealth.
Right.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. The thing that builds wealth oftentimes, and this goes back to our myths, wealth isn't built overnight. It stacks.
Yes.
Good decision over good decision over good decision. And then something big happens and you think, damn, they got lucky. No, they didn't get lucky. They've been stacking good decisions for decades, just stacking good decision after good decision, right? And they minimized the damage.
Yep. So if discipline keeps you from losing and protects what you've built, the next question becomes, how do you actually grow it?
Ooh, I think that's a good idea for another episode.
I think so. You want to do another episode?
Yeah, let's do it. Another episode. Huh.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So in the next episode, what we're going to talk about is we're going to move on from these good behaviors, right? And here's what you're going to find: good discipline, good behaviors. They're actually going to overflow into everything that we talk about in building wealth. But we're going to talk specifically, I'm better with numbers than I am with letters, Xavier. We're going to talk specifically about one of our ingredients to building wealth, and that is consistency. So y'all, hey, if you find this valuable, go out there, share it with someone. We hope that this helps you. Our goal really is to equip you and resource you to make good financial decisions for you, your business, and your family. So go out there, y'all, plan wisely, live confidently.